How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Sector 6, and today we're going to be taking a look at the absolute plethora of information regarding Final Fantasy XVI that has dropped over the last 24 hours. A few creators have been kind of invited in by Square Enix and given the opportunity to play the game, and play a demo section of the game that's kind of been curated for them, which has led to loads of videos popping up all over YouTube that have got gameplay footage, story footage and things like that. We are going to take a deeper dive and look at some of these videos in a bit more detail when it gets to weekend. I'm not going to have time to do that right this second. On top of that, there's also another round of interviews that have been conducted by Yoshida and the Final Fantasy XVI team. Again, we will catch up with those properly at the weekend just purely because of time constraints, but you know, there's plenty that we can talk about. We can have a little chat without diving too deep. Don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe for future content. We're going to be covering Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, all of the good things. Got a Theatre Rhythm video coming out tomorrow. I was going to drop it today, but all this 16 news kind of cropped up. And then we've got an Octopath Traveler 2 video coming soon once I get a little bit deeper into the story. But we're going to be covering a lot of stuff, so stick about. But let's get on with it. So there's a fair bit of stuff that we can ascertain from a lot of these interviews and videos that have been given. At the surface level, we're going to dive into a few of the more standout points, a few of the things that have got people talking. So initially, we've kind of got confirmation that the game is going to be about 30 to 35 hours as far as the story goes, with about the same amount of time, again, as far as additional content and things like that go. As far as what the side content is, we can take a little bit of a dive into the interviews. We can see that a lot of the side content is going to come through Sidolphus, who is this game's Sid, essentially. And he seems to be running like some kind of resistance group, and he's got a hideout, and Clive is staying at this hideout. He's living there for a while. So there's a lot of things that you can do based on that. So you've got like a mob hunt kind of thing, probably quite similar to Final Fantasy XII system, where you have marks that you would go and hunt. You'd find them, you'd kill them, you'd get some shiny things. There'll also be the usual mix of other side quests, like, you know, finding gear, upgrading gear, finding accessories, and I'm sure there'll be other things that they're not really letting on to us. Like I say, I've not been able to dive massively deep into these interviews just because time constraints, got a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, it's shaping up like it's going to be a pretty big game. Now, one thing that they do say regarding minigames and side quests and things like that is that we're not going to see anything along the lines of Blitzball or going snowboarding in Final Fantasy VII or just dropping everything and going fishing. And the reason for this is because the themes of the game are actually quite dark. The story itself, from what we can see in the narrative in general, which we've kind of known since the first trailer pretty much, but you know, it's going to be a much darker, much grittier, much more serious Final Fantasy than we've potentially seen before. And that being the case, would it make sense for everyone to just drop everything and go and play Blitzball, or drop everything and go and do some fishing, or some snowboarding, or some chocobo breeding? Do you know what I mean? Would it make sense for that to happen? And I've got to admit, I kind of agree with him from that perspective. I love my stupid side quests and minigames, but this is going to be an extremely narrative-focused Final Fantasy from what I can see. 11 hours of cutscenes in 35 hours of gameplay. 11 hours. So they're going to be taking it very, very serious. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be focusing down on the story. It makes sense that any mini-games or side quests that we get are going to fit that. They're going to fit into that mold. And Yoshida has said that the side quests are going to be relevant to the world. We're not going to really be getting fetch quests. No, it's not going to be a case of run here, grab 3 feathers, run back. It's not going to be that. I mean, it probably will be that, but it'll be framed in a way so that that is not the focus. That is not the focus of the quest. The focus of the quest is the story, and maybe at some point in that story you have to pick up 3 feathers and give them to someone, but they're not going to be fetch quests like just go here, get 3 of nondescript item, bring back, done. These side quests are going to be anchored to the world, to the story, and therefore they're going to probably take a slightly darker tone, a slightly more serious tone, in the same way that the main narrative takes a more serious tone, a more darker tone. So yeah, I wouldn't expect any crazy, insane minigames, but I wouldn't rule it out either. You never know, we might get the odd moment of levity in the game where something funny happens, but I just can't see it being anything major, especially based on the interviews that we've seen. And again, like I say, we'll dive deeper at weekend, but this is just my first initial reaction to what's been said. But yeah, it's shaping up like it's going to be a pretty big game. Now, included in that 35 hours of story, there is apparently 11 hours of cutscenes, which is a lot. Like, that is... I don't know about the balance there. It'll be interesting to see how that balance works out. 11 hours of cutscenes means only 24 hours of actual gameplay out of your 35 hours. I suppose if the story's compelling enough, then that's perfect, but, you know, it's something to watch for. Something to watch for. Now, they've made a big point of the fact that non-action game fans can enjoy it. And this comes in the form of a story focus mode, which comes along with several support accessories that you can equip immediately, and they will automate a lot of the functions of the game. So you have like an auto attack ring, you have like an auto potion ring, and you can equip and remove these at your will, so you can alter the difficulty of the game for yourself, or you can view it as automating certain tasks that you would like to be automated. So such as the auto potion ring. Auto potion is something that we've been able to equip to accessories in a lot of Final Fantasy games, be it as a skill or a craft or something like that. You know, you can normally find a way to make auto potion happen. This is just essentially that, but it's giving it you from the very start of the game, so that you can tailor your difficulty. We will take a look at what rings are available and what, you know, effects they confer onto the player when we take a bit of a deeper dive into these interviews. But I do feel like there's a bit of a point being missed with a lot of this. So, it seems like the focus is people who can't play action games when they're talking about this. But I feel like they're missing the people who are perfectly capable of playing action games, but just prefer Final Fantasy to not be an action game, because that's not what it's been. I feel like that section of the fan base is being ignored, and it's not unexpected. Just have a look on Twitter and you'll see all the little tryhards that are just really quick to dismiss an opinion because, you know, they don't really understand what people are saying when they say that, you know, they prefer it to be a specific way. And this is what it boils down to. People tend to then go, oh, so you just can't play action games then? It's like, well, no, I'm actually perfectly good at playing action games. I just don't expect that when I come to Final Fantasy. So there's a lot of discourse going on Twitter and other social media platforms right now, as we knew was going to be the case, you know, the turn-based RPG versus action RPG debate. For me, I'm one of the people that perfectly happy playing action RPGs, perfectly good at them, there's no difficulty issue there, it's perfectly fine. But it's not really what I come to Final Fantasy for. So I'm going to be able to play this game and be perfectly, you know, able to judge it on its merits. There are some people who won't be able to play it because of the type of game it is, but I just feel like they're dodging that point, and people in general are not very accepting of that opinion. You know, when people say like, no, I feel like Final Fantasy should be this. And they immediately throw it in your face like, oh, well, this person says this and this person says this. It's like, well, that's wonderful. I'm so glad that they say that, but that doesn't change what I think. That's where people are kind of going wrong here. So there's a lot of bad faith arguments going on out there. Just be careful, whichever side of the fence you're on, because there's people flinging shit from either side. So, you know, just be careful out there. Look after yourself. But yeah, like I say, I feel like that's being ignored. I feel like it's just being framed as people can't play action games. Oh, poor them, we better make it easy for them. And it's no, it's not necessarily a case of that. For some people it's that, but for a lot of others it's not. We just have a preference based on what Final Fantasy has been in the past. That's all it is. So, yeah, it's a shame, but I'm still going to enjoy Final Fantasy XVI, hopefully. I'll judge it on its merits, and then I'll go back to playing Octopath Traveler 2, which is amazing, by the way. Play Octopath Traveler 2, it's so good. Video coming soon. Moving on. The combat looks like it's really fluid, it looks really impactful as well. Yeah, I'm quite intrigued by the combat. I'm looking forward to get my hands on it. It definitely looks like a monumental improvement from Final Fantasy XV, like 100%. Quite looking forward to breaking that down. At the weekend, I'm going to get the footage that we've got. I've got the footage playing in the background now. I've just not had the chance to sit down with it for a couple of hours and break it down and stuff like that. I've had a very hectic few days. Mum's gone into hospital the last couple of days. So yeah, I will be getting to it at weekend. Promise. But for now, just looking at the combat, it looks fun. It looks action-packed. Especially when you get to like the icon fights, which I'll try and pop up on the background now. We've seen footage of Garuda versus Ifrit, and while the icon fight looks a lot more simplistic than the normal combat, it still looks fun. So like the normal combat, when you see Clive fighting Benedicta, that looks pretty fun. And I'm going to guess there's quite a bit of difficulty to it, you know, as far as timing your dodges and timing your moves and things like that. Like I say, we'll dive a bit deeper at weekend. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be challenging if you just play it as an action RPG, but in a good way. It looks like it's going to be fun. When I look at the icon fights, while they look impressive and while they look fun, and I'm definitely going to be up for it, they also seem, or at least the one that we've seen, seems quite simplistic from what I've seen. A solid 30% of the final fight was the finishing cutscene of the final fight. And throughout that, you are doing damage. Yeah, you're doing a couple of little QTEs, but for the most part, you are not fighting. You are watching this fight take place. And then the last couple of things that I want to touch on here really quickly is, first off, we know when we're getting more information. We should be getting more information in April, and that's going to look at more of the side content, so we'll have more information on what the actual side content is going to be and what kind of shape that's going to take. Not only that, it's also going to be looking at the day-to-day mechanics of the game, the general gameplay loop, what you're going to be doing in an hour-by-hour, minute-to-minute basis while playing Final Fantasy XVI. So we're definitely getting down to the nitty-gritty now. We're going to see some information on how the game is going to actually play. Not just combat, just in the world. What it's going to look like walking around as Clive doing things. Which is going to be good. That's going to be brilliant to get some information on. Again, like I was saying earlier on in the video, there's been a lot of weird discourse regarding the side quests comment, people feeling like Yoshida's disrespecting some of the older games by talking about how you just have a random minigame dropped into a situation. It's not worth getting triggered over, it's nothing. It's his opinion, and it's cool. So just chill. But it will be good to see how that goes down. Now, the other thing is something that we predicted just in the previous video. So while I was speculating about what was going to happen at the Sony State of Play, it was awful. There was nothing good there except for Baldur's Gate 3 in my opinion, which looks amazing. We'll look at that when it comes out. But in the video that I was doing for that, I kind of predicted that Final Fantasy XVI probably won't have a demo. Everyone got really excited about a demo now. And my take was, we're not seeing a demo until at the very earliest a month before Final Fantasy XVI drops, because it just doesn't make sense to release anything before that. And in all this wave of interviews and promotional stuff, it has been confirmed that about 2 weeks before release, we will get a demo for Final Fantasy XVI. So we're looking at, what, the 9th of June-ish? Yeah, 9th of June-ish. Around somewhere between the 7th and 10th of June, we should get a Final Fantasy XVI demo. Because the game comes out on the 22nd, so yeah, somewhere between the 7th and 10th of June, we'll get that demo and we'll be able to get our hands on it. They're unsure what they're going to do with the demo. They don't know if they're going to do similar to what they've done with this media tour demo, so where they've let certain content creators, you know, get a look at the game early. This is a section from about 5 hours into the game that people have played. They aren't sure whether or not to do it from the beginning of the game and let people continue their save progress into the actual game, purely because the early stages of the game are very story heavy apparently. There are gameplay elements obviously, but it's not a massive amount of gameplay elements. So yeah, it seems like the early stages of the game are going to be very dense with story based on that. Probably not going to get much gameplay, but there will be a fair bit. But like I say, 11 hours out of the 35 are cutscenes. That's insane. That is insane. So it makes sense that the first part probably won't have a massive amount of gameplay. So yeah, it remains to be seen what they do with the demo. I really hope that they give us the first part of the game, if I'm being honest, because they gave us Forspoken's demo, and that was about 5-6 hours in where that demo started, and I feel like the demo suffered because of it, and subsequently the game suffered because of it, because people were trying to get to grips with a combat system and a mechanics system that they hadn't been gradually fed into. So when you play Forspoken from start to finish, you are gradually fed into the mechanics and you understand them as they become available to you. In that demo, you have everything dumped on you all in one moment with very little context given to the player, and it definitely hurt. So I hope we don't get something like that with Final Fantasy XVI. That is my hope. But yeah, that's kind of everything that I've gone over. In the background, you'll have been seeing a lot of the footage that's been released. So let me know what you think. Like, have you read any of the interviews? Have you watched any videos of the footage? What's your take on Final Fantasy XVI at the minute? For me, I'm excited for it. I still wish Final Fantasy had stuck to its roots a little bit more and stuck with turn-based gaming. That's my preference. But I'm 100% down for Final Fantasy XVI. it looks pretty phenomenal. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, drop a like on the video, subscribe for future content, but more importantly than anything, have a great day.